I've been a loyal customer of Spotify for over a decade. My friends use it, my family use it, and all of my smart home tech supports it, except for, well, you know. But this isn't what you think it is. So in this video, I want to run you through sizing up the undisputed world's best music streaming service, Spotify, against another behemoth, Apple, and explain why me, someone who enjoys using an Android phone, is choosing to use Apple Music, of all things, on my Android phone. Now I'm gonna do this in two parts, starting with Spotify. And the one thing that many people say about Spotify is that it is great at personalization and recommendations. And I don't disagree. I've actually found Spotify is far better in terms of recommending new music that I actually like. Like my go-tos are the Discover Weekly playlist, where I genuinely find new artists I like every so often, and the Release Radar playlist, where I can hear new tracks from all of my favorite artists, although it has been giving me some quite weird recommendations recently. And I switch back and forth between these, along with listening to my liked songs playlist, which songs get added to when I like them on Spotify. Now you've also got Spotify's own curated playlists, which are one of my favorites being the Upside Down playlist. Remember that from Stranger Things? Which basically gives you your own music that you like listening to, but weaves in new tracks that you haven't heard before. So you get like a great mix of new and old stuff in just one place. You've got the other like memory lane playlists, of course, that Spotify curate for you, like Spotify Wrapped, comes up every Christmas, and all of your top songs from each year, which I do often just go back to just for like nostalgia purposes and kind of see what I was listening to last year or the years before. Now, Apple does have this feature, which they copied from Spotify, but as you can see, I only have 2018 and 2023, which is when I first started using Apple Music, and 2023 when I started using it again. Now, Apple does also have a Discovery radio type station, but I've not found the recommendations on there as good as Spotify. There's also my own personal station, which mostly is just tracks that you add to your library, but there's nothing really built in for new releases other than, you know, specifically playing the new released albums or tracks you're interested in listening to. And I think this partly comes down to a difference in how Apple and Spotify measure what you listen to. With Spotify, you can heart a song, which adds it to your like songs playlist and to your library. Whereas with Apple, you can add tracks to your library, but you can also heart a song separately, which in some cases, in many cases, is actually really tricky to find. Like when listening to the Discover station, unless you're on mobile, there's no visible heart to click on to tell Apple that you like what you're listening to. You have to kind of go digging around for it. And even on mobile, it's kind of small and out of the way as well.
That's what she...
Now, the other thing I do like about Spotify is, if you have kids, there is a way to prevent your kids' music from messing with your recommendations, because you can exclude songs and even whole playlists from your profile. So you and your kids can listen to Disney in your car or something on your account without training Spotify to then give you more Disney music in your recommendations. So for some reason, because I listen to Gary V podcasts, sometimes it decides to add V Friends music into my recommendations, which is just awful. You also get great features such as Spotify Connect, which lets so many, like an unlimited number of third-party apps and headphones and speakers from hooking into Spotify. There's Spotify Tap as well, which lets you jump straight to your favorite playlist at the touch of a button on some headphones. There's also podcasts and the latest announcement of Spotify, which is bringing audiobooks to Spotify premium subscribers at no additional cost. Now, for someone like me who pays for Audible, I am loving that announcement. But with all of those features, there is still something I've come across, which means that now when I head to the gym or sit down to do some work, I fire up Apple Music and not Spotify. And for some insane reason, it's something that works better on an Android phone than it does even on an iPhone. Now, it's not just one thing either, but a collection of things. Now, the first one is high quality, lossless audio. Now, this one was sprung on me recently when I hopped into my car and thought, just for shits and giggles, let's play some music from Apple Music today instead of Spotify. Now, I just got Apple Music for free through my phone contract, so I thought I might as well just see if it's gotten any better since I last tried it. And the sound that came out of my car speakers that morning was noticeably louder and clearer than on Spotify. So much so that I instantly hopped back over to Spotify to compare it. And yeah, it was quieter, it was lower quality. So when I went home, picked up a pair of my new favorite headphones, threw on a few of my favorite tracks, and I just started comparing. And to cut a long story short, Apple Music has higher quality and lossless audio music. Spotify does not, yet. Now I say yet because Spotify announced they'd be releasing a higher quality subscription, yes, one you'll have to pay even more for, with no signs of it ever becoming a reality. They announced it like 2 years ago. So if you are an Apple user, it's pretty straightforward to say you slap on a pair of AirPods and use Apple Music to get the best quality. Except no, because none of Apple's headphones, not even their flagship AirPod Max headphones, currently support lossless audio. You literally have to buy a pair of £19 wireless earpods because the Bluetooth codecs inside all of the Apple products doesn't support it. Over on Android, it's a different story though, with an ever-growing list of devices which support something called Snapdragon Sound, which can play high-resolution, lossless, low-latency audio over Bluetooth. Now, surprisingly, the Android devices that support it aren't the ones you commonly think of. The Nothing Phone 2, for example, was the one that I was really most surprised to see on the list as a relatively budget option, along with a long list of Sony and Xiaomi phones. Nothing from Google, nothing from Samsung. But it is yet another benefit of using an Android phone, along with many others I've come across recently. Now, not only is it better quality, but Apple Music also has a ton of Dolby Atmos tracks, which are mixed specifically in Dolby Atmos, rather than kind of processed to fake it like there are, instruments positioned around you in 360 degrees, which sounds great on some tracks. Apple Music also has additional features like iTunes Match, which is this service where you can literally upload your whole music library to the cloud and access it on any other device. Now, this is great if you have like a huge music collection that at one time, maybe you ripped it from CDs. Perhaps you have a ton of like B-sides and rarities that don't exist on the streaming platforms already, or perhaps even your own music. You can just literally rip your whole library up to the cloud and access it on any device. You get Apple Classical, which is a separate app, again, for high-res, lossless classical music. There's a separate app for podcasts. You've got Sing, which is a whole like karaoke system built into Apple Music where you can just turn down the singing volume of pretty much any track, so you can just sing along. You also get Apple Radio, along with some exclusive interviews. I just listened to the Blink-182 interview with Zane Lowe, but then I also realized that Blink had uploaded that video to their YouTube channel, so perhaps not that exclusive. Now, I think the only negative experience I've had so far with Apple Music is that one of the new releases I saw on Spotify didn't appear on Apple Music until like a few days later. But to be fair, it wasn't a big release, it was like a live EP, since I doubt Apple would miss out on the traffic when a big release drops. So my recommendation would be that if you like having everything all in one place with good recommendations that integrates with a load of like smart speakers and smart home gadgets, then Spotify is great for you. Now, if all you want to do is listen to music, play specific albums at the highest quality possible, then Apple Music is a better option for you. And yes, even if you're on Android. Now, I'm going to continue to use both systems. I pay for Spotify and I also get Apple Music for free on my mobile phone contract. So I listen to Apple Music most of the time, but for audiobooks and podcasts, it's Spotify. Now, do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down in the comments below. Go watch the after show at our Patreon link down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time.